Hi, I just want to take a quick moment to discuss the decision Trump made last week regarding transgendered individuals in our military. And as you can see here, I have a small 3x5 card with just a few notes written on it. I won't take very long. But I think it's important that we discuss what actually happened last week. Now, when Trump came out with this announcement about transgendered individuals no longer being allowed to serve in our armed forces, a lot of people came out in opposition against that from all over the world, saying that Donald Trump's decision was founded in bigotry and fear of the transgendered community. And they said it was a form of discrimination. Now, I would agree. It is discrimination. But does that make it wrong? Let's look at the dictionary definition of discrimination. You see, the first definition is the act of making or perceiving a difference. The second is the quality or power of finely distinguishing. And the third is the act, practice, or instance of discriminating categorically. Now, that third definition is typically associated with the bigotry and racism and prejudice that people so flippantly use the word discrimination to mean. However, in the case of preventing transgendered individuals from serving in our armed forces, it's not a bad thing. It would be more along the lines of that first or second definition of discrimination, distinguishing a difference and finally picking. You see, the military, by definition, has to be a discriminatory organization. Our armed forces can't just let anybody enlist. You see, our armed forces, for example, don't allow obese people to serve in the military. They can't serve to the fullest capacity of which they would be expected. People who are handicapped, like those who are missing limbs, they can't enlist either. And those who are mentally unstable aren't allowed to serve for the safety of their own safety, as well as the safety of individuals around them. So you see, with the case of transgenders in the military, we have a criteria for our armed forces, physically, emotionally, and mentally, just to name a few, that all of our troops need to be able to meet. And transgenders do not fit that criteria. You see, physically speaking, a transgender has to go through all these different types of surgery in order to change from one sex to the other. But in this process of artificially changing the body, they put themselves through risks of infection as well as bodily problems that take place because of the artificial change. They, for a time, when they go through the surgery, have to take leave because they cannot serve after experiencing the change. So this renders them as not very good troops. And on top of that, the expenses for the hormones that take place and for the hair removal surgeries and then the actual sex change reassignment surgery and then everything that takes place afterwards, like the therapy and the counseling, all of that is expensive. Now, I, as a taxpayer, when I pay my taxes and I have that money that goes towards our armed forces, I expect my money to be used for the betterment of the defenses of our country. I don't expect my money to go towards an individual's personal life choices. And that's what transgenderism is. To personally choose to go through such a surgery is their own individual decision. And I don't want my money going towards that. I would want my money going towards the betterment of the defenses of our country. So this right here is it goes through, transgenders, they go through all this surgery that costs a lot and renders them incapable of serving. Secondly, there's the whole emotional aspect. I have a friend who is transgender, and this person and we have talked quite a bit. And this person, they know my position on transgenderism, and I know theirs, and we've been very open back and forth. And this person was very honest with me. And they told me that all of the hormonal therapy that this person has to go through, it causes a surplus of emotions that this person is constantly having to hold back and constantly having to fight in order to stay calm and reserved and not let them explode. You see, our troops going through basic training and then while serving actively on the battlefield, It's a very stressful situation. It's already very emotionally taxing on an individual. Why would we compound that for an individual by allowing them who already has emotional problems, then further compound their issues by serving in our military? That's unhealthy for them. And it causes a risk. There is a risk factor involved. There are times where people in the military have to make quick, decided decisions. And they have to make these decisions, these hard decisions, void of emotionalism. When a person who has got this emotional baggage has to make a decision like that, there's a great risk involved. And transgender individuals do not need to have this thrown upon them. It's for their own good. They should not be in the military. And lastly, there's the mental aspect. You see, as a biological human, I would be insane to claim to be, say, a cat. Biologically speaking, I am not a cat. If we evaluate my body physically, I do not have a cat's body. So for me to claim that I am somehow a cat would be ludicrous. And it's the same here with people who have biological male bodies or biological female bodies to claim that they are actually female or being male and or being female and claiming to actually be male. See, they may feel that there's something like the opposite gender, but just as much as I may feel to be a cat, that does not actually make me to be a cat. So if someone says that they feel that they are male when they're actually female, it does not make them any more male. Now, you may disagree with me in my conclusion to state that such a mental belief is insanity, and you're fine to disagree with me like that. However, you cannot argue with the statistical fact that United States veterans are the second group of people with the highest rates of suicides. You see, going off to war, the physical training, the stress of physical training, and then actually being on the battlefield and having to kill people, seeing your comrades fall in war, having to see all these gruesome and violently graphic imagery take place before your very eyes, making hard decisions where the consequences you'll have to live with for the rest of your life. It's very traumatic. So it makes sense that troops who have gone through these traumatic instances while on the battlefield and through training and serving for our country, when they come back with PTSD, that makes sense for them to have such mental problems. The only group of people who outranks our U.S. veterans in suicide rates are transgendered people, both before and after sexual reassignment surgeries. So if we have a group of people who statistically are the #1 group of people for suicides, only compound that number by having them serve in our military, we're just further statistically improving their chances of becoming a suicide victim. This is unfair to them. But not only is it unfair to them, just think about it for a moment. Being suicidal, that in of itself is a disqualification from being able to serve in our military. So if we have a group of people who physically, their condition costs a lot of money and it will render them inoperable for certain periods of time, emotionally, it's very difficult for them, and it only compounded by the fact that they have all the stress upon them. And mentally, regardless of whether or not you disagree with me as to the fact that they believe that they are something they are not, as being insane, but the suicide rates in of itself show that they are mentally unstable. It is completely unfair to allow this group of people to serve in our military. Now, serving in our military is not a right. Our armed forces is not a right. It is a privilege to which certain criteria must be met. And transgendered people, it would just frankly be unfair and cruel to let them serve in our military and armed forces. Now, regardless of whether or not you agree with me, that's okay. You see, we live in a great country called America where we are allowed to have individual thoughts and disagree with one another. But before you go, I just want to point out that we have a God who is holy and a God who is loving. And our God has a holy love that wholly loves you. Have a great day.